We don't need Jamie and Chris to stay, do we?
Well, you can't speak to your board as to whether
We don't need Jamie and Chris to stay.
I had them all stay.
All right. All right. Stay. Stay. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the town board meeting to order beginning at 9:21 p.m. August 10, 2017. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Chairman Merrick,
Present.
Supervisor Wolf,
Here.
Supervisor Radke,
Here.
Supervisor Durr,
Still here.
Supervisor Fisher.
Here. And Madam Clerk, have we met the open meetings law requirements?
Yes, we have.
And waiting for citizens' comments. Each person to address the board may do so at the podium for a maximum of 3 minutes. There's still a lot of us around, so I'd like to keep that to a strict 3 minutes. Board will receive comments only during citizens' comments. Any questions or comments directed to an individual supervisor or staff person will be deemed out of order by the board chair. All comments, questions, concerns should be presented in a respectful, professional manner. No public response or applause to any citizens' comments is permitted and will be deemed out of order. And with that.
Well, and I just want to reiterate one point that I made earlier, and we do thank everyone for staying. We welcome your comments, but anything you say can't be taken into consideration because it's not part of the evidence and it's not part of the public hearing. So you just need to be reminded that if you make comments, you're going to have to come back to the public hearing or send them in writing for the public hearing in order for the board to take them into consideration. We certainly do welcome comments such as the comments that the commissioners made saying at the public hearing, we expect them to address this or that, or we would be looking or asking or respectfully asking that they do that. But, and again, if we reach too much of a level, you know, this is a public session, so, and the petitioner's here, so it's a little different, but you too are the judges in this matter ultimately. And so you're going to be, you know, voting on this as a judge, and you have to be careful about ex parte communication. So,
Thank you. And with that, come on up. Evening again.
Hello again.
Do you have a name and address? Or do you need it?
No, I have it.
Now it is.
Yep, you're good.
Okay, as I said earlier, in order to stay within 3 minutes, I have prepared remarks. I said good evening before, now, and once again. I'm speaking here tonight in regards to the proposed home development at the Legends of Merrill Hills Golf Club. Although this podium is typically used to address the town board, I wish to address the town board and the attendees this evening.
No, just the board, please.
Okay, I'll stand this way then.
No, you need to address the board.
Is there an actual rule where I must face
Yes, you
this
address
way?
the board.
public comments right to the board.
Well, listen closely. This proposed development will bring up to 50 or so of the $1 million homes to our area. And while development in our area has usually been positive, this development brings a significant negative in which we, the residents and voters of Mary Hills neighborhood, are being a no benefit to us. Specifically, the developer, Mr. Gaudian, is asking our town board for approval to destroy our quiet little neighborhood neighborhood street for the benefit of himself and his $1 million homes. In fact, I found it interesting, his comments, he said our concerns are not real, or as he put it, based in fact. They are quite real. Based on the plans that I see here, it's my understanding they wish to connect the development's road to Sun Valley Trail, which is currently a small cul-de-sac road in our neighborhood, and turn into a busy thoroughfare with additional noise, traffic, and people, carrying perhaps 100 vehicles a day. This will likely harm property values, raise issues of speeding, bring rumbling commercial delivery trucks, that small dilapidated street. Right now it's held together pretty much with glue if you go look at it and walk down it. And essentially damage the peaceful way of living for the residents and voters of Mary Hills neighborhood have enjoyed for decades. Make no mistake, there's no benefit to the residents of our neighborhood and all the benefit to Mr. Gaudian and his $1 million homes. In other words, he's forcing the good residents of our neighborhood to give up their peace and quiet by subsidizing him and his homes. He gets richer, we get poorer. But according to these plans, he does have an option that apparently is being ignored, and that's to access Route 59. But he's chosen not to connect to it because of a simple letter. Typically, when there's a dispute between a private citizen and the state or government, a lawsuit is enacted. Where's the lawsuit? It'll never come. Why? Because it's easier to railroad the residents of Mary Hill's neighborhood to bear the financial brunt of his development road access. We must say no to subsidizing development, and we must use options to defend our quiet neighborhood. It's time we demand our elected town officials to Sun Valley Trail and demand that Mr. Gaudian fight to use the existing connection he has to Route 59. If our elected town board does not hear us loud and clear here tonight and votes against us by allowing Sun Valley Trail to be forever ruined, then we must ensure that you hear us loud and clear at the ballot box. It's imperative that you, our town board, remain accountable to us and not Mr. Gaudian. If we must demand accountability here tonight, or we can do it at election time. The choice of how we support you, our town board, is in your hands. Let's hope you make the right decision. If you don't, we will.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, my name is Beth Roush. I actually live on Oak Knoll next to the Newman's parcel that they plan on purchasing, and where the road is actually going to be next to.
Could I get your address for the clerk, please?
West 271, South 3595, Oak Knoll Drive. And I have a severely mentally challenged, mentally disabled child who has DiGeorge syndrome, which is a deletion of one of his chromosomes. He has severe intellectual disabilities, cognitive problems, canal problems with his ears. He has trouble walking. He has incontinence. He has hyperactivity, anxiety, autism, along with speech and language development. He is not potty trained. He is nonverbal. He actually has the age-old sense device tracking system. So when he is gone, it takes 10 minutes and it notifies me where his whereabouts are, but it takes him, he's got 10 minutes of running time before I'm going to know where he is. He has, since October of 2012, I've been working with Children's Hospital Psychiatry Clinic to try to minimize his dangerous behaviors and increase his ability to learn and participate. He has impulsive running off from caretakers that I've hired to come in my house to help take care of him. With his increased size, he's figured out how to escape from our home, wander into the neighborhood, enter into other people's homes, which many of the poor people are here right now, and take things that don't belong to him. And he does steal. He will break your windows to get into your house. He doesn't really care. He has a flight risk. I have a disability service place that is trying to help with me to get him ABA therapy, but it is still a 2-year waiting list for him to even get on it. He's got 2 more years possibly on the waiting list. He's been on the waiting list since he was 5. He's a flight risk. He needs 100% supervision. And despite respite care, he still can't be left unattended. He will leave his home. He has nowhere of safety or personal boundaries. He doesn't understand this is where a lot ends. He doesn't understand dangers that the barbed wire fence that's on the side of our property isn't going to injure him when he goes through it. He comes home all cut up because he's walked through the barbed wire fence. He needs 100% disability. As of yesterday, he was deemed 100% disability. I have a disability placard in my car so that when I do go simple places like going to Walmart, I have to park in the handicap places just so that he doesn't run in front of traffic, which he does quite frequently. We moved to Oak Knoll 5 years ago off of Brook Hill because even though it's minimum speed during school bus time, he runs out in front of the cars and has been almost hit numerous times. So we moved here to keep him safe. And now putting a road next to our house, my son's no longer safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Diane Harp. I live on South 37, W27625. I've house for 14 years. My spouse has lived there for over 35. When Mary Hills first put the golf course and they changed the topography for the driving range, it changed the drainage through our backyard along with our neighbor that had to leave. I did videotape it. Mr. Merrick had the pleasure of going through my soggy yard this spring. I showed him where all the drainage comes directly from the golf course. Although it is an easement, a drainage easement through to another lot at the end of Sun Valley Trail, it never was like that even in the 14 years that I've lived there. We did have a lot of rain, but it has changed. I'm not sure if the retention ponds are going to take care of that. I don't know if the slope from the new subdivision is going to send more rainwater even down our road. I don't know that. I also was wondering about the Water Supply Protection Act, Chapter 7, that's in the town ordinance that I looked up, that if there's over 5,000 gallons of water taken out by any new development, that there needs to be a whole study done. I've done my homework. Normal person uses between 80 and 110 gallons of water a day. 2 people per 32 houses would be 64 times 100. We'd meet that threshold. To have that study done, I guess, as a town, I guess that's in there. I printed it out. I'm also worried about the access off of Sun Valley Trail. I know that it was always meant, I guess, to be extended, but our neighbors, he had to leave, bought their house 45 years ago. They were the second house built on that road. And they've never had drainage problems like this, like in the last 8 years. So I'm a night shift worker. I moved in to that house with my current spouse. It's quiet. We chose to stay in his house and not keep my farm because it was louder. But I sleep during the day, so I'm wondering, how am I going to survive and keep my job with construction traffic, not pickup trucks, dump trucks, front end loaders, everything. How is it going to impact my livelihood? How am I going to sleep during the day when I picked a neighborhood that was quiet on purpose? So I don't know if maybe he wants to buy a whole bunch of our houses to add to the golf course or not, but we're looking at selling ours. I doubt if it will sell once all the construction traffic is going through, so we might have to wait till it's done.
Thank you.
All right.
Hello, everybody. My name is Michelle Severson. I live in the town of South 37, West 27570 Windsong Ridge. I've lived at that residence with my family for 30 years this spring. I have to agree with the previous speaker that I too have a problem with runoff from Merrill Hills, and it has gotten worse as time has gone on. We actually have 2 flooding areas that come from that area down through 2 parts of our yard, bifurcates my backyard and the side of our yard, travels into the woods, which gets overflown even though it has a culvert from a previous construction going way, way back. It can't even handle that volume, so it circumvents that and goes up to the back of our house as well. They used to call that a 100-year flood. It's now happening every year, and the bifurcation has gotten worse from the center. My concern is with this construction, especially 1920 and 21, if the grading of that is allowed to be able to include more water, I will have my septic system, which is a brand new mound system, fail. It is a mound system equipped for 5 bedrooms. Our home is not a 5-bedroom home. It's a 3-bedroom home, now a 4-bedroom home. And there's only 3 of us living in that residence. So my mound system failed, and the alarms went off this past spring, just from the runoff and the amount of rain that we had. I don't want to see that as a current thing. These are the things I'd like to see. I'd like to see whether stormwater and property flow water, what directions is that going to actually travel? I'd like to know what kind of septic system they're talking about. Is it a mound or is it a leach field that goes back to the perk, whether or not their land perks out? If it goes to a mound system, it'll bifurcate their mound and it'll only channel it even worse toward my property. In addition, I would like to know whether or not what they plan to do regarding the proximity of the Oak Knoll Road access point to the driveway east regarding safety, because that road doesn't allow two cars easily to pass by itself, but on a bend of the road, that's not good. In addition, if people are coming west on 59 and want to go on Oak Knoll, they will not be able to turn without stopping traffic, and that's what happened at Mary Hill Parkway. We had accidents until we got our turn lane, and there is no turn lane onto Oak Knoll off of 59. That's a safety concern. I'd like to know what type of outdoor facilities they're planning to put out. I'd like to know what is going to happen to the existing home that they purchased where the exit would come out of Oak Knoll. I'd like to know why can't they create an exit out of the Legends itself where they have an existing entranceway into the property for the golf course, the main buildings. I'd like to also know the exact size of the storm ponds and their water capability, capacity. I'd like to know if they've done a traffic study, and if so, what specifically do they anticipate as far as the number of vehicles?
Pam, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stacy Campbell. I live on West 271, South 3661 Oak Knoll. My family and I moved out there 2 years ago this summer. We moved from a neighborhood where on 36 and Beecher, where my kids would watch constant drug deals. We moved out here, well, now they see turkeys and deers and a beautiful golf course. Don't get me wrong. It is one of the reasons we moved out here. They cannot ride their bikes. They could on 36 and Beecher because of the traffic and the rate of speed that they go. I want to answer her question. Yes, there was a safety study done. When my kids started going to school, they were allowed the bus to go to Rose Glen across the highway. The school put their bus route on the highway. I fought that. They told me that they would move it, and they moved it to Merrill Hills and Oak Knoll on the other side. I said, that's even twice the distance. There's a blind curve. There's a blind hill. I can't tell you how many times. I won't even let my 10-year-old daughter go to our mailbox by herself because of this blind turn and the curve. So when I told them there's no way she's going all the way to the other end, I did have a safety study done through the sheriff's department. They must have deemed it unsafe because the school district called me and said that their report was given and they did change her bus route to it. Tell me what happens with the construction on busy times, 8 in the morning and afternoon, when these buses are gridlocking that whole street, because it will. And eventually we will have to widen that road. And who is paying for that? I do want to know what's happening to Chuck Newman's lot in his house and who will be living in it, or if it is even going to stay up. It has not been transparent as we've tried to make contact with them. And I also can attest for Beth Roush's son. Donald has approached my house trying to run in just out of the blue, trying to run up my driveway 2 different times. I do fear for his safety. You will have the same issue that happened with that little autistic boy, Andrew, last fall when he was lost in the cornfield. This boy, you cannot hear him move. I also want to know why it wasn't brought up. Yes, their own entrance. They have an existing entrance that they can utilize. I don't understand why they're not using that. What's our taxes going to happen? Our wells? I don't know. I bought this property as our lifelong home, and the whole concept is changing now. And I don't know if we want to stay either with the amount of traffic that this will incur and all the costs that will incur. Are they going to take part of my property to widen this road? That's not what I signed up for. And I am sad about this entrance on our subdivisions, because I think it's falling on deaf ears of why, exactly like Chad said. I think it is easier for him to go after his little guys than fight the DOT. And I think that should be an open record.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hi, Lori Barton. I really hate public speaking, but I will try my best here. S37W27336 Genesee Road in Waukesha. The land that this development is going to be on, my grandparents bought this land in 1928. My dad sold it to Merrill Hills, and with the understanding that it was only going to be for a golf course. It was never to be developed. Unfortunately, it's not in writing. It was the old handshake, honest person method. This, I don't understand why it has to be a gated community just because the houses are going to be so expensive, and all the houses around that area have been there at least 40, 50 years. This is not something we want. This is not something our dad wanted. It was, like I said, the understanding that would never be developed. He never wanted to see this happen. He lived in Waukesha on that property his entire life because he said that the town of Waukesha is just being overdeveloped. There's traffic beyond belief on Highway 59. We live to the west of where that lot is. And to put any kind of an entryway there, I would say it would be suicide because 9 months out of the year, we have the school. And there's at least 20 buses that come out of that subdivision every day, plus the subdivision traffic. I leave for work at 4:45 in the morning, and every morning I have to sit at the end of the driveway. Our concern is what is going to happen to this land. And the woods that is going to be the natural resource area, that's because it floods out every spring. And we have noticed where some of it staked out for housing is part of where it floods out every spring. And I just want to say that this is really upsetting because not just for us, but for the neighbors. And to have these huge houses going in, it just screams dollar signs. And I know dollars speak louder than the voices of everybody here, but we need to be heard on this. Not just listened to, but we need to be heard about everybody's concerns here.
Thank you.
My name is
Good
Laura.
evening.
Hi. My name is Laura Schrader. I live at West 270 South 3511 Merrill Hills Road, which is right next door to their entrance to the country club. And there's been a lot of talk about drainage on the other side over by Sun Valley Trail. But since the driving range was put in, we have had a substantial increase in storm drainage in our yard. And I have had the county out and I've had the town out several times, and nobody seems to be able to do anything about it. But on more than one occasion, we've had at least 3 feet of water run between our house and our garage. And it's not uncommon to have a foot and a half of water run from the back of our lot all the way through our yard and then under Merrill Hills Road. So I was a little curious about his comment when you were talking about storm drainage, and you said, well, maybe not to totally fix it, but at least address it. Well, it would be nice if it was totally fixed, because I have, we built a wooden bridge over this storm drainage area so we can get to our cars. The garage floods. It's been up over like the doors of the car into the cars. So I'm very concerned about having the storm water drainage issue addressed. And I'm hopeful that it's not going to be made worse. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hi, I'm Shelley Smith. I live at S37W27196 Genesee Road. And the address I rattled off is one of 2 that sits on about 6 acres that has been in my family for approximately 70 years. When we built out there, when my family decided to build out there, obviously it was being with the fact that it was in the country and bordering on Oak Knoll Drive, as we were right on that corner. I understand that change happens, but when change only benefits a small minority of people, here being members of a private golf course versus what's going on for the entire community in the area, change is not necessarily good. Along with not being happy about the development of this gated community for many reasons that have previously been stated, One of the main issues I have is in regards to the purchase of the Newman parcel to be used as the main entrance into the development. This access on Oak Knoll connecting to the homes provides absolutely no benefit to the residents on Oak Knoll or the people that are close by on Merrill Hills and many of the homes even on Highway 59. This entrance does not promote safety in regards to the traffic, aesthetics, or general welfare to the area. And of course, we dread the thought of this road possibly being widened to accommodate the people that will live in this gated community. Oak Knoll already struggles with vehicles traveling much higher than the posted speed limit of 25 miles an hour, making it dangerous for people that have walked on that road, or someone like myself and my husband who are avid cyclists, and little kids can't even ride on that road anymore. Not only do you, and as far as previous comments Mr. Gaudian presented about being less traffic, I find that hard to believe. Even if these are seasonal residents, are they not going to be going to friends and family in the area? Are they not going to be going to restaurants, going to hair salons, grocery stores, you name it? He said members want to live by other members and that they are friends. Well, people in the community along Oak Knoll and on the Sun Valley Trail side also want to live among our community that we've had established for a much longer period of time, and to keep the peace and quiet that we have. And we're not only going to have traffic from extra residents, but the construction vehicles have been mentioned, all the roofers, the lumber, the gravel, and the concrete trucks that will be going in back and forth. And on Oak Knoll, this road has a posted sign of no through trucks over 3 tons. This neighborhood will be affected by the traffic, the noise, and at least one home in particular that sits across the proposed entrance on Oak Knoll is going to have to deal with headlights of people pulling out of this entrance. The country club already has an entrance, and I think there could maybe be, it would be appreciated if they could look into an entrance maybe off of Sunset Drive on, which I believe is the northwest corner of the property. I'm sure they have competent engineers who can work out some way to make this happen, and it would be very appreciated. Thank you for listening to us as voters.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jim Timmons, Timmons. I live at S37 W27575 Windsong Ridge. We've lived there for over 40 years. And I have to agree with the comments that people made previously about it being a nice, quiet area. That's one of the reasons why we chose the area to live in. The traffic that's going to affect Sun Valley Trail not only will affect Sun Valley Trail, it will affect Mary Hill Parkway. And there's a steep hill that goes down to Sun Valley Trail. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that truck size limitation also affects our area where we live. So we're going to have construction traffic that's going to come in on that little entrance to Mary Hill Parkway that's going to get torn up, as well as Mary Hill Parkway itself and then Sun Valley Trail. The questions that I have concern the safety on Mary Hill Parkway and Sun Valley Trail. Also, my understanding originally was that there were going to be single-family houses in the Legend Park that they're building, and now we're hearing there's condominiums. Are there single-family homes being built as well as condominiums, or are all of the parcels condominiums? Then my next question deals with the fact that you're going to have a gated community. Are there going to be some type of barrier, like a wall or fencing around the entire area where the new construction will be? And if so, what type of wall or fencing? There's no sense in having a gated community if you don't have a wall or a fence around it. Also, we wanted to know how this is going to affect our property values, because again, that's one of the reasons why we came out here, was the property values were good. They were going up until the Depression hit, and now they're starting to go back up again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Pete Erlacher, and I live at South 37 West 27272 Genesee Road. I'm in the small corner. Right here. I just purchased that property a year and 1 month ago with no idea that this subdivision was going to happen. My first concern is with traffic. My driveway is on Highway 59, not straight across from Brookhaven or the road going to Rose Glen School. You can sit at my driveway during school hours between 7:30 and 9 o'clock, and you might have to sit there for 10 minutes before you can pull out onto the road. So having more traffic wanting to turn on Oak Knoll is going to make that situation much worse. And not only do I have to worry about east and west traffic, I have to worry about turning traffic going to the school already. So adding another road in there with more traffic is going to compound that safety hazard. Since I've lived there, there's already been 2 fatal accidents just down the road at Merrill Hills and 59. So safety is a big concern. My other concern is that corner is the wetland area. And when I bought my house, I was assured I'd have a dry basement. And when I go down there and look at it, I see where the previous owner did work. He put in a crock, he put in a sump pump. He's got waffling around the walls. He's got waffling in the root cellar, okay? This spring, when the leaves were off the trees and I could look out my kitchen window at the marsh, when I saw water on top of the ground, and I did my homework too, DNR said that is a wetland area, E2K soil, lamertine soil, poor drainage. All right, the water collects there. When I see that water, my sump pump is going off every minute and 15 seconds. Minute and 15 seconds. It runs for 35 seconds to pump out a crock. Now, with that building, we know there's going to be runoff, especially with the 2 houses on the lots down on the bottom. That extra runoff going back into that swamp area, which is still technically on the property, my basement floor level is level with that swamp. That's going to start forcing hydraulic water pressure up through any cracks that might be in my repaired basement already, forcing me to spend more money on repairs I shouldn't have if this wouldn't happen. I've got all kinds of maps and studies here from the DNR, soil types from the USDA, natural resource, and it's a concern. And I don't know, they said there was testing, but what kind of testing was there? I've talked to other people in the Waukesha County land use, and they're unaware of this.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Anybody else?
Good evening. My
Good
name
evening.
is, and I'm probably going to be repeating what Shelley Smith said because she is my daughter. I live at South 37 West 27 234 Genesee Road. I live on 6 acres on Oak Knoll Road and Genesee Road. My ancestors bought the land about 70 years ago. Oak Knoll at that time was just a few homes on it, and it was considered a private road. More homes were built, and we had many nice neighbors move in. They have now come and gone, except me. We now have nice neighbors with families who moved here to be on a very, very pretty tree-lined, quiet country road. As time went on through the years, all the farmland around us became very developed with subdivisions such as Honey Acres, Cider Hills, Rose Glen School, and now the development of the Legend subdivision. We live in on a very busy highway, and it's very difficult to get out of our driveway, especially at busy times. I can park in a driveway in the back of my property and go out Oak Knoll Road and go over to Merrill Hills Road. It is, if an access road goes in off Oak Knoll Road to the Legends, where the homes are going to be built, this will create many problems. It will create more traffic, noise, safety concerns. It will ruin the beauty of Oak Knoll. Be unsafe for the families and children, walkers, and their dogs and bicyclists living on this road. The intersection of Oak Knoll and Genesee Road and the intersection of Merrill Hills Road and Genesee Road are unsafe now and will be worse with increasing traffic on these roads to get to the access road. Oak Knoll is a beautiful road and has many great neighbors. Please do not destroy it. No one on this road will benefit from the access to the road except the person who sold his lot to the Legends. Please leave Oak Knoll Road. One more thing. My dad, Dick Powell, lived on the corner of Genesee Road and Oak Knoll Road many years back. Chairman of the Board of Appeals for the town of Waukesha. He was a kind, fair, and honest man. I think this would have saddened him greatly to see what is happening to Oak Knoll and our area, the way it is being ripped up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Evening.
Good evening. You just heard from my daughter and my wife. I'm Ronald Hagan, S37W27234 Genesee Road. I guess I have to talk kind of fast, but they covered a lot of the ground. I own quite a bit of land here. All of this right here that she is talking about. That road was a private road years ago before her father bought land on it and her uncle bought land on it. So we're the old timers here. That road is 3,000 pounds. Excuse me for being nervous. Now you're going to send 40 and 50,000 pound trucks down there with concrete and equipment and gravel. You're going to violate like crazy. The curve down there is all ripped up in the pavement already. It's going to be very dangerous. This was always residential suburban estate, 1.5 acres and above. It used to be a private road. It was given to the town in good sense so they could do the repairs and do the snow removal. Now I don't think it should have been given to the town. Walter Cole was a very good friend of mine. That's from him. He was on the town board too in his past. I think him and Richard are up there with tears in their eyes because they loved this road. I think that also going through the access right through the main gate of the Legends would be the best bet. Yes, the road goes up to the clubhouse, but then also the golf cart road goes along where this other lady was talking about her water runoff. That golf road could be made into a highway and going around the woods, be right into the subdivision. That'd be taking care of 2 stones with 1 throw. It would be getting the road off of Oak Knoll, and it would be taking, they could put culverts and the right kind of drainage in there at that time. So that would help there. I had notes because I get nervous. I guess some of these people have pretty well talked about what I'm talking about. And there was never anything brought up about up on Highway D on Sunset Drive up in the northwest corner. There could be a road there, and then you could have easy access travel going to the side as they pulled in there. And that's a county trunk road, and I don't think you'd have much trouble getting access up there. Then they could go along, and that is their property already, behind those houses, behind those cul-de-sacs they're talking about, and go down into the subdivision that way. Fire engines and police would get there a lot faster there. They would get there a lot faster down to Merrill Hills through their regular gates. So I could go on and on and on. I don't know how much time I have, but the people on Oak Knoll Road, there's people that run. They walk with their dogs on leash, off leash. They walk with their kids. They push them in carts. It's a small road. You're breaking code, bringing trucks in this town here. I hope they're not going to take land from us later to make the road wider because of this situation.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Lori Longtime, W271 S3581 Oak Knoll Drive. The discussion of the concept at this level of the project, the discussion of the concept plan precludes our ability, our citizens' ability to have input at this stage. When will we actually have meaningful input that might result in a change? It's interesting that the Legends have talked about adapting their plan to incorporate all of the supposed input they've received and all of the exhaustive door-to-door work of Mary Claire, talking to neighbors and summarizing our comments. I think I'll speak for myself. Thank you. Mary Claire started her big work less than 2 weeks ago, and we have been hearing rumors about this subdivision since late 2016. We've been trying to find out information. We've been asking at the Legends, we've been asking the town and various people who might know something. We've always been told, nobody knows anything, nothing's happening, except that back in May, or late April, one of our neighbors asked here at the town and was told by Clerk Nicholas that this is going to happen. So suddenly somebody actually knows something, and it's not favorable to us. Yes, Kathy?
Please don't address any staff members.
All right. All others have told us that it's a done deal. A road planner I know says to estimate 10 car trips per day per residence. We could potentially have, on our little tiny road, we could potentially have up to 400 car trips per day. And that's just the new subdivision. That doesn't include the people in it accessing their homes. Don't confuse your marketing strategy, selling to empty nesters, as any indication of what will actually happen. If you get a juicy offer from a big family, will you deny it? When the empty nesters sell their home and go into a nursing home, who's going to ensure that another empty nester buys the property? I have a question about why is the widening of the road not included in the conceptual development plan so that the full impact of the plan on Oak Knoll Drive would be known. Oak Knoll Drive was never intended to be anything but an access road to the 17 or so homes on both sides of it. It's narrow, and I realize that there may be a widening, but that should be included in the conceptual development plan because you have cul-de-sacs coming, or these circles coming onto the property, but not onto the road. And that is a big part of it. It's huge.
Thank you.
We're going to lose all of our privacy,
Thank you.
we came out here to get.
Anybody else?
My name is Jim. Let's come up. Hi. What? My name is Jim Barton. I live at S37 W27336 Genesee Road. As my sister was saying, the development they want to put in was our farm that my grandparents bought in 1928. They were the third or fourth farmers there. The house that they lived in was built in 1900. That was the second house on that lot. They reused the timbers from the first one, the people that built that house. My two main points I want to bring up concern what they designated as a isolated natural resource area. That has always been, we called it the woods. It's always been a woodland. The farmers that were there before us never cleared that land. That land, when my dad said he moved there in 1928, it was mature trees. It's mostly hickories and oaks. There are frogs and wild turkeys and deer and red-tailed hawks and owls that live in there. There are, or at least there used to be, several varieties of wildflowers, including trilliums and columbines. They might be protected, I'm not sure. But if they build those two large lots there, all of that will disappear. Another point I want to bring up is where you see those stormwater retention ponds on the bottom part by that cul-de-sac, where they want to put those. They had, when they were developing the driving range, we let the construction crews have access through our property to get on the south end so they didn't have to drive across the golf course. And they had to put in a crushed stone driveway there because there was so much standing water 5 or 6 months of the year. What I'm worried about is that elevation of those retaining ponds is higher than our property. When that drains into the ground, will that all drain onto our property and cause flooding in the basements or standing water and things like that? And they've already brought up the other points about where they want to put in a access road on Highway 59. And like she said, that would be suicide. I've almost been run off the road, trying to turn right into my driveway and have people passing me on the shoulder on the right and going into the ditch on several occasions. And other people point out there've been numerous vehicle accidents there. And with the school drive right there, it's a very high traffic area. You hear squealing brakes all the time, even during the middle of the night. The traffic starts at 3:30 in the morning and goes till 8:30. I drive school bus out of North Prairie, and I leave just before 6 in the morning. It takes 45 minutes to get out of the driveway to head west. And it's the same in the afternoon when all the school buses are leaving the school there. That's about all. But like I said, she said, when my dad sold the property, he was assured by the people that were operating Merrill Hills at the time that they would never build any houses there. It was going to be sold as a golf course. If he had gotten that written into the contract as a covenant, none of us would be here right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? If you choose to. I would ask that you be respectful of everybody's time and not repeat the same things that have been said. If there's something new that you'd like to bring up, please do.
I didn't quite finish, and I won't be taking the whole 3 minutes. I think it's sweet that this is going to be an exclusive gated community with really quality people. But I'm interested to know, gated to keep who out? Possibly the riffraff that are going to move into our homes when we sell for less than their current value. And I would ask the town board to consider that the loss of the property values and therefore taxes, tax base to the town for what's really going to happen. My husband grew up in the Vin. In fact, he even lived in the neighborhood before because my father-in-law built another home down around the other side of Oak Knoll, and he grew up there and in our home. And he's kind of a tinkerer, so he played in the creek a lot. But that creek behind our house has really divided our property so that we really don't have access to the back of the property anymore. And that is since they built the practice range. And just by the way, they started grading that practice range in November. So in the springtime, we had not only all of the runoff, the volume of the runoff, but it was cafe au lait. They didn't do anything to control the soil that is going to be coming down there, and now it's going to be laced with all kinds of toxic chemicals that they use to keep the grass green, and runoff from all the impervious surfaces of the homes and driveways. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, one more speaker, and then we're going to cut this off. It's after 10 o'clock.
Okay. I just wanted to also say that Mary Claire did tell me that Jack was aware of my son being there. I'm also curious, though, about my driveway being right next to this new road. What if somebody comes down my driveway instead of that road and hits one of my kids? I have a son that's an 8-year-old that's an avid four-wheeler, and he is on his four-wheeler 7 days a week on that road. And what if somebody comes down my driveway instead of that road and hits one of my kids? Take that into think.
Thank you. All right, we are going to move on to number 5, recommendations from the Plan Commission and possible action. A, conditional use for Rod Kunze Pet Boarding at South 52 West 24084 Glendale Road. The tax key is WAKT 1404994. The recommendation from the Plan Commission was for approval. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the conditional use permit for Mr. Kunze.
I'll second.
As per all the recommendations from the planner and engineer?
Absolutely.
Any discussion? All in favor?
I'm trying to figure out if it's on this or the, it's probably on the accessory building also.
No problem. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to B, accessory structure for petitioner. Petitioner is Rod Kunze. Company is Kunze Pet Boarding. Location is South 52, West 24084 Glendale Road. Tax key is WAKT 1404994. The recommendation from the Plan Commission was for approval. Is there a motion?
I move we accept the recommendation from the Plan Commission.
And a second? And discussion?
So this is where my question was, on this property, it seemed that the principal structure was designated to be the converted dairy farm, which is now the boarding kennel. And I'm wondering how that's going to work with the requirement that the accessory building carry the same building construction and type of the principal structure, similar to the one that we denied a couple of months ago and requested those changes to be made. Since in this case, the residence isn't the principal structure.
I think this is one of the circumstances where we have a unique situation where it probably doesn't follow our ordinances to the T. But I don't think it's the intent of our ordinances that the new garage meet the architectural aesthetics of the agricultural barn, that we would want it to match the farmhouse. I think we could modify the conditions or maybe add a condition that it's the intent of the Plan Commission and board that the compatibility match the farm residence and not the farm building.
Okay.
So do we need to add that into the motion in the second, that modification? Is that acceptable to you, Larry?
Yeah.
And Supervisor Radke?
Sure.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to C, ordinance 2017-04 relating to Title 12 Land Division. Recommendation from the Plan Commission was for approval. Is there a motion?
Also move. I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to D, ordinance 2017-03 relating to Title 13 zoning code and zoning map. Is there the recommendation from the Plan Commission was for approval? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the recommendation from the Plan Commission.
And a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Discussion quickly. I'll be repetitive, so I'll do it fairly quickly. I will not support the ordinance changes because of two parts of it, particularly with regard to the RE, RSE, and R1 zoning districts, reducing the minimum total area, total floor area for buildings all the way down to 1,200 square feet. I haven't heard good justification for doing that from anyone, and particularly leave the verbiage in the code that says those zoning districts, residential zoning districts, the purpose of those is to, for larger or large houses. That's absolutely nonsensical from my point of view. And the other thing is the reduction of lot widths in cul-de-sac areas or bulk cul-de-sacs, so that in some instances, particularly with R2 that we're talking about, houses with attached garages that would be less than 50 feet in width, I think is totally contrary to the character and nature of a lot of our existing cul-de-sacs. It'll preclude effectively the possibility of side entry garages. So I think those are bad policy changes, and I'll be voting no.
Thank you. Anybody else? We've got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. That did require a Supermajority vote.
The minutes need to reflect that it was 4-1.
Thank you.
You needed 4 affirmative votes in order to pass.
On to E, conceptual site plan of operation. Petitioners David H. Lehman, architect. Buda Haska Corporation, location is South 46, West 23, 214 Lonsdale Road, tax keys WAKT 138-8996-002. This was to determine whether or not a policy decision of the new building being a principal structure, as is the current two structures, the housing and the temple. And so we can just take a round table. We'll start with Supervisor Radke.
I would consider it primary.
Supervisor Wolf.
Also.
I am going to stick with my original thought that it is not. Supervisor Durr.
I'm of the opinion that it's an accessory structure.
And
Principal structure.
Okay. Majority rules. Thank you. On to F, the accessory structure for Tom Baker, West 227, South 24, 16 Morningside Circle. Tax key is WAKT 134-2064. The recommendation from the Plan Commission was for approval. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the recommendation of the Plan Commission.
Second. Too late. You got beat out, Larry.
Yeah.
Fisher beat you.
Oh, you can
Fine.
have it. You can have it.
can
if you
have
want
it.
No
Let's
offense.
not fret over it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to G, accessory structure for Bonnie Look. Thanks for hanging out with us all night. Location is W255 South 5991 Oakdale Drive. Tax keys WAKT 142-7999. The recommendation from the Plan Commission was for approval. Do we have a motion?
I move we recommend, accept the recommendation of Plan Commission.
And a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. To H, conceptual CSM, the petitioner is Paul Skolovich. Location is West 234, South 6040 Big Bend Road. Tax key is WAKT 143-699-8014. And there were two issues, whether or not we wanted the petitioner to come back with a 3-lot CSM and potentially move the lot line in order to bring his barn into compliance, or perhaps force the demolition of the barn. The Plan Commission had felt that it was something that could be addressed in the future by some other board and some other property owners. And so around the table we go again. We'll start with Supervisor Fisher.
I would encourage the petitioner to try to clean the issue up now.
And Supervisor Durr.
Well, I think it would be wise for him to clean it up now because it doesn't affect the request before us. It's not our position as a governmental body to tell him what's in his best interest. That's for him to determine, and if he doesn't want to address it now, he shouldn't have to address it now.
Thank you. And I am of the opinion that it does not need to be addressed now for the very same reasons that Supervisor Durr so eloquently stated.
There you go. Wow.
I agree with
Hear that.
Supervisor Dorr. It'd be nice, I think, to clean it up now, but I don't see, if it's still in the family, why he needs to.
Thank you. And Supervisor Radke.
I'm not in any position to tell him what to do. So I think he's capable of making that decision on his own.
Thank you.
Also held.
On to I, conceptual development review. The petitioner is Jack Gaudian. Company is a Legend at Merrill Hills, part of the southeast quarter section of Section 18 T6NR19E. Tax key is WAKT 136-89-78-003. There were a great many questions posed this evening for the petitioner. And I think we'd like to see that stuff addressed at such point as you come back in public hearing. Does anybody on the board have any additional comments or
I
things
got
that
one.
they would choose to see addressed at the public hearing?
I've got one. I think, and I'm not sure who gets tasked with this responsibility, whether it's petitioner or the engineer, but the connection or the proposed access through Oak Knoll off of Highway 59, I think we need to know what currently exists there in terms of, with detail in terms of acceleration and deceleration lanes, what exists there and what the DOT would permit. I'd like that information from somebody.
Is anybody going to object if I ask to see the presentation again?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
It's on video.
Yeah.
I think you've got several objections. Moving on then.
Oh,
If
I
there's
got
no
a
other
question
comments,
on that
please.
one. I'd like a little more information from the chief or someone as far as I looked at the turning radius of the ladder truck and it looks pretty interesting to get in and off of the roads to the gated. Wondering if they can be flared out or if the chief thinks they're suitable or whatever.
Madam Clerk, would you be so kind as to get that information from the chief? Thank you.
I have a comment. When we first bought our house in the town of Waukesha, our backyard butted up against a cornfield, and in the middle of the cornfield was a private airstrip. Part of the reason we moved out here. Shortly after, it all changed, and that whole cornfield got annexed into the city and became a subdivision. I would just like to state that I think that the way that you're going about this, at least by approaching the neighbors, is admirable. Nobody said anything to us. It just happened, and that was life. So, good
Thank you.
luck.
Anybody else? Then we can move on to J, site plan of operation for Thomas Shep, South 16 West 22171 Arcadian Avenue. Tax key is WAKT 1297966. A recommendation from the Plan Commission was for approval. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to accept that recommendation.
And a second. Subject to all the conditions from the engineer and so forth. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Last, accounts payable, authorization to pay the bills.
Make a
in-
motion to pay the bill to Rupert Milky in the amount of $46.44.
Second.
And Madam Clerk, a roll call vote?
Chairman Merrick,
Yes.
Supervisor Durr,
Aye.
Supervisor Radke,
Aye.
Supervisor Wolf,
Aye.
Supervisor Fisher.
Abstain.
And
Make a motion to pay the remainder of the bills in the amount of $93,211.33.
I'll second that one.
Madam Clerk, a roll call vote?
Chairman Merrick,
Yes.
Supervisor Durr,
Aye.
Supervisor Fisher,
Aye.
Supervisor Radke,
Aye.
Supervisor Wolf.
Aye.
And lastly, the moment we've all been waiting for.
Move to adjourn.
In a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Informal, sorry. Informal, sorry. I want the presentation again. I can say